Hello everybody, welcome to OCHD and welcome to another Jumputi Heroes video. Today we are doing the batch review for the Black Clover feature festival, which has a couple of little interesting things that I think we'll have some fun talking about. So to get things started, of course, where we always start, the limited Asta and Yuno. This unit was definitely a curveball for me. I think I talked about it briefly in the news video. I was dead set on this being the dual unit for Christmas. I was so sure, Christmas/New Year. I was so certain that it would be for there. I know that's kind of silly because that would literally mean Black Clover would have the feature festival, get a limit or whatever, and then one event, maybe two events later, there'd be another big Black Clover limited, and that would mean 2 years in a row there had been a Black Clover limited for Christmas/New Year, and Yuno would have been featured both years. So maybe that was a bit silly of me. I don't know. I think a lot of the Black Clover fans definitely expected this to come now rather than later. It is what it is. Sprite is great. Animations are top notch. Absolutely top notch. But above all, what a good unit. What a good unit. I talked last time about how I thought Yuna was a very good unit, but I didn't think she'd be that much fun to play with. She was just solid for like PvP or whatever. I feel like this is a little bit closer to being a little bit of fun and still being a very good unit. There's not much, difference in terms of how fun they are. They're not quite at the level of Kenshin, but they got a little bit of something. So let's talk about them. The ultimate attack is damage plus reversal damage. If you don't know, reversal damage is damage which is calculated based on the difference between your max HP and your current HP. So the lower your HP is, the higher your reversal damage will be. And you also get a 2-turn boost of ultimate attack damage for green team members by 20% and remove 1 curse from this unit. That is one of the best ultimate attacks in the entire game. It is crazy good, because not only have you got standard limited damage, it's a little bit lower, some limits are like 500 or more, 470 damage, okay. But on top of that, you get the reversal damage, which it's only 20% compared to some other reversals, I think go up to like 50, but it's still a lot. It's still certainly a lot of damage. And ultimate attack damage boost, they're a buffer. So very good, not only in PvP, but also in PvE, they're still going to be used. And remove 1 curse from this unit. So they got the whole package really on ultimate attack. You can't really ask for a lot more than that. In terms of the passive, a little bit of a complicated one. There's a lot going on here. Reduce bubbles required to create a skill bubble for this unit by 1. Unconditional, they just take 6 bubbles compared to everyone else's 7. Boost this unit's attack by 10%, 34% in tower. That's whatever. I guess it means they're still pretty good for tower. Reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for tank class team members by 1. What the fuck is that? Why would they have that in their passive? That's so silly. That's so silly. Basically, if you have a team that is this unit, who is not a tank, is a DPS class, but this unit and 3 tanks, bear in mind, typically speaking, tank is favoured in green type. Green type does typically have the tankier units. So you could legitimately run 4 units, 3 of them being tank and green, and 1 of them being Asta Yuno, and everybody gets their bubbles reduced to 6. That's pretty tasty. That's pretty damn tasty. And then before this unit's turn, convert 1 heart bubble to a blue X paint bubble conversion radius of 9. Some people are not a big fan of the paint bubbles that convert to the opposite type or to an alternate type. And I don't know. I don't know necessarily that it's that good. I think there's definitely a lot of times in the past that it's got on my nerves. But it does give them a little bit of something bubble control on the passive. I quite like it. The frontline kit, very, very good. I think this is probably the best green unit in the game. One of the best, certainly. And one of the best units, full stop, because there's a lot going on in that kit. And the support, not that you would use them on support that often, but assuming you have Nightmare Luffy, letting you use their support from copy, convert all red bubbles to green, and inflict 30,000 bleed damage to one enemy, while enemies affected by a bleed, blah blah blah, 25,000 additional damage. So, again, it's very good. It's very good. I do like any support that converts all of a certain type to another colour. Is very, very good in my books. And in addition to that, you get 4 turns of bleed damage. So, very strong. This is a very strong unit. If you are a fan of Black Clover and you want to go for this unit, you should not feel held up at all. I know Christmas is coming. I know New Year's coming. There's going to be a lot of tempting goodies coming. But this is very good. So you don't have to feel bad about going 9 multis for this one, I gotta say. I personally didn't, but it's okay. It's okay. Let's talk about the standard gadget. Let's start off with the one I actually did manage to pull, Nozel Silva. Inflict 400% damage to one enemy for 2 turns, poison the enemy for 200% damage per turn. Poison not that common. I guess they made it poison because it's mercury magic. It's like mercury poisoning. Is that why they've done it? I don't know. And for 2 turns, boost this unit's attack by 8%. For 2 turns, boost this unit's armor attack damage by 8%. So sort of a hitter. Damage is pretty good. It's going to be pretty good overall. Poison's still very underutilized. There are like there's no like strong limiteds doing poison anymore. No recent limiteds doing poison. We still don't have like poison weakening. There aren't that many supports that do poison, although there are a few. I mean, it just hasn't really got the attention that maybe some other things have gotten, but it's still good. I mean, it's still 200% damage, and it's like poison, so it's fixed damage. It bypasses damage reduction and stuff. I mean, it's legitimately good. It's good, but I don't know. Poison's just not really for me. And the passive, reduce burn damage received for this unit by 4840 and boost this unit's attack by 18%. So another one of those standard gadget units that has a strong resistance to a certain elemental damage. Gonna be a top pick any stage that's using burn. He is fairly solid all round as a front line. Not too many things holding up the kit, so pretty good. I'm happy to have him. He's a pretty nice one to have in your locker. The support, convert a random bubble to a skill bubble and boost its blast radius by 1. Convert a total of 4 green and block bubbles to blue. And reduce the number of turn of guard on all enemies by 1. For 3 turns, boost the ultimate attack damage of blue team members by 15%. A lot going on there. I think we are definitely seeing a trend of most skills give you a skill bubble now. Even if they're doing a whole load of other stuff, most of them will still give you a skill bubble regardless. So you're getting a skill bubble, it's got a boosted blast radius, and you're getting conversion of 4 green and block bubbles to blue, so that's already pretty decent. And then on top of that, reducing guard and boosting ultimate attack damage. Very, very good. Quite far from where we were in year 1. Just tons of stuff stacked into that support, and I guess we'll see more of that moving forward. I may have to rethink how I lay out some of these like skills and stuff, because the names are getting the names are getting longer, but also the skill descriptions are getting longer. An example of which, Kenpachi barely managed to make that fit, and I had it didn't really fit, to be honest. I had to shrink everything down. So things are getting more complicated in the meta, which units are good and which are bad, but he is definitely a very solid support. Next up, Fuegoleon. I never know how to pronounce this. The way it's spelled, you would say it's Fuegoleon, but I don't think that's how Japanese people would say it, right? They would say Fuegoleon. Doesn't matter. This is the unit I wanted, and pretty nice. 500% damage based on recovery. Definitely becoming more of a thing this year, damage based on recovery, which I'm very okay with. For 3 turns, burn all enemies. and the burn is 1000 damage and an additional 1000 damage. Not that high, but it's just an extra bit added on. Bear in mind his base damage is 500%. For 4 turns, boost this unit's ultimate attack damage by 10%, and for 2 turns, boost this unit's recovery by 10%. Very nice. Very, very nice, you have to say. The damage is going to come off pretty strong. That additional little bit of burn, I mean, it's maybe not enough to be consequential, I wouldn't say. I mean, 1,000. I mean, it goes up by 1,000 each turn, and it's 3 turns, so I guess it will. And it's to all enemies. But that is very a PvE type deal, because it's like 1,000 to all enemies, but there's only 1 enemy in PvP, so that's useless. But 1,000 to 1 enemy. Oh, sorry, 1,000 to all enemies in PvE. That is good. That is definitely good. It's not that common to have stages with lots of lots of enemies. Even though they keep releasing more and more units to AoE, they still don't make that many difficult stages that require you to be able to deal AoE damage. So I'm a little bit conflicted on the matter. But a nice kit, and if they ever do release stages like that, I dare say that will come in handy. The passive boosts his unit's recovery by 20%. Obviously, it has to be recovery because he's a recovery-based damage ultimate attack, and reduce damage received for this unit by 1,000, 20k in tower. Not a big fan of that. I guess you could say the justification is if you did use him on the front line, he would boost ultimate attack damage and recovery damage, and that would carry on to the next character. So, regardless of whether the burn wasn't that high, you'd still get some good damage off, and you'd get some boost for the next person in. So, that passive could be good in PvP. But, for me, it's not that great. It's not that great. I would much prefer a standard resistance rather than just damage reduction. And then support. Convert 2 yellow bubbles to red column paint bubbles. Convert 2 yellow bubbles to blue column paint bubbles. Convert 4 green bubbles and 2 hard bubbles to rainbow. Recover 13,300 HP. Very nice support. You can see the amount of extra stuff they have to put in to a support that doesn't create a skill bubble. You've got 2 red column paint bubbles and 2 blue column paint bubbles, and then 6 rainbow bubbles, plus 13.3k HP recovery. That is very, very nice. A little bit situational. I mean, that many paint bubbles and their different colors and stuff. I mean, it's cool, but for me, that's very situational. I don't know necessarily how often I would use that. The heal is nice, though. I've got to say, the heal is nice. All in all, I don't think he's actually as strong a unit as Nozel. I think Nozel's kit is much more appealing to me. I just wanted Fuegoleon. What can I say? Let's talk about the free units. Let's start off with Secre Swallowtail, a healer. Not really, a special class, but does in fact heal on her front line. Recover 156% of this unit's recovery, or heal for 156% of this unit's recovery. For 2 turns, reduce damage received for blue team members by 360. It's actually really nice free-to-play healer. There's a good little bit of heal. You're getting damage reduction out of it as well. She's just going to be a pretty nice frontline healer, especially if you're a beginner. Maybe less so for veteran players, but still. Could see some use. She also reduces damage received for herself by 1,040 and reduces burn damage received for herself by 2,440. So again, she could be quite nice for some burn stages. I think her and Nozel go together quite well. Actually, who did I count a Fana, I guess? As they both resist burn. Does Fana burn? I don't think her stage is out yet. So I don't know. I don't know if she does, but I would say that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. If there was a harder stage that had a bit of burn on it and you wanted to bring along blue units for it, she's definitely a candidate for a 99 luck lead, 100%. Support, convert 1 red bubble to a blue column paint bubble. Convert 1 red bubble to a heart common paint bubble. Convert 3 red bubbles to blue. And for 1 turn, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for blue team members by 2. I think this is the same as a couple of units we've had recently. I'm trying to remember who they are. Is it Asno and someone else? I can't remember. As I said with them, I think it's interesting. I think there's definitely some upside to it. Lot going on there. Not amazing, but again, it's a 6-turn cooldown, so it's not too bad, and it can give you some nice board coverage. I do like the heart column paint bubble becoming more of a thing. If we could have like a really sick healer limited, and they had heart paint bubbles on the support or on the passive, oh my god, that'd be amazing. But pretty good, pretty damn good for, especially if you're going to be a beginner. You're not going to have access to characters like Onodera or like other blue healers. I mean, you might have access to them, but you might not have chosen them because you might not have known. She's a good candidate for your blue healer. And even for more veteran players, she's a good candidate for 99 luck lead in certain stages. So, pretty cool, pretty cool. What else do we have left? Let's go on to Rhya. I believe Rhya came out on the first day as well. Inflict 370% damage to 1 enemy for 3 turns. Heart bubbles have a 40% chance to appear as a rainbow bubble, maximum of 2. It's kind of standard, but again, if you're a beginner, this could be pretty cool actually to run as a 99 luck lead. Help you just blaze through some stages, because the damage is not a lot, granted, but you are getting some manipulation on the board to make it easier to create skill bubbles, so it's alright. And the passive, reduce the number of turns of curse for this unit by 2. If the enemy is DPS class, boost damage dealt by 25%. Not a big fan of that conditional, but I mean, it's not too bad. Reducing curse is good though. And then the support, for 3 turns, boost the ultimate attack damage of green team members by 15%. For 1 turn, reduce the number of bubbles required to create a skill bubble for healer and tank class team members by 3. I believe we've had loads of characters with similar skills to this, and I'm not a particularly big fan of any of them. So, for me, not that impressive a support. Frontline, though, there is some potential there. There is certainly some potential. Again, more so if you're a beginner. You probably won't use them if you're a veteran player. Next up on the list is Fana. Fana is a healer as well, sort of. Special class. Again, not actually a healer class, but recover 3,300 HP, and for 2 turns, counter all normal attacks to all team members for 110% damage. Still not a very big fan of counter. I feel like counter, when it first came out, was very, very weak. Like, I think it was introduced, I could be way off on this, but I think it was introduced with Tyson Maeda, version 1. Or it might have been that he was just one of the more prominent units to first use it. I don't know. But it wasn't very good. And then we just hit that brief period where there was the counter meta in PvP with Deku and Eri. And it just died off. They released so many counters to the counter and so many ways to deal with it. They just fell right off. And it's just like, I don't know. it's just never come back. Counters just never really come back for me. I hardly ever use it. I know there are those supports that do give you that like counter damage plus a skill bubble plus whatever, and those are pretty good, but the damage still, it feels negligible to me. It's not that good. And in this case, she's not that good, to be honest. The passive, reduce the number of turns of curse by 2 for this unit, boost this unit's attack by 18%. No conditional this time, though the boost is weaker. And reducing curse is good, of course. All in all, frontline, I probably wouldn't use her that often. The support, convert the top row of the board, excluding skill bubbles, to heart bubbles for 3 turns. Burn 1 enemy. Burn starts at 3k, goes up by 5k per turn. Nice little support. Not that many free-to-play supports that are inflicting elemental damage, so that's good. Plus, you convert the top row of the board to heart. There's definitely situations where that could be very useful. maybe niche, but definitely very usable support. And frontline, not so much. Not so much. And then the final unit of this batch, we have Charla. Charla? Carla? Charla? I assume Charla. I don't know. Inflict 356% damage to one enemy, and if the enemy is DPS class, inflict an additional 50% damage. Very standard frontline attack for a Transcendent class unit, and not very good. Not very good. Passive, reduce the number of turns of curse for the unit by 2. Seems like most people have that in this event. When your HP is 30% or more, boost this unit. No, before this unit's turn, convert 4 red bubbles to blue. So I am quite a big fan of units that do give you a decent amount of bubble conversion on support, and especially for a free unit, that's not that bad. I mean, again, much like Rhya, if you're struggling for green units, you probably could use her, and you could probably get some good use out of her. But not that great for me. Then the support, for 3 turns weaken all enemies by 29%, and for 3 turns reduce the attack of all enemies by 17%. That is actually not that bad. Sure, the percentages are not that significant, and it is a 10-turn cooldown, but there are definitely times when it would be very good to debuff all enemies. And there you go, double debuff. I actually think situationally that could be quite good. That could be quite handy. Not for everybody. It's not one of those ones you're going to use in PvP every week. But you know what? Not bad. Not bad. All in all, pretty good little batch. I think Nozel and Asta Yuno. I mean, Asta Yuno is obviously going to stand out because they're the limited, but Asta Yuno have a very good kit even for a limited. And I'm quite a big fan of Nozel. I would have liked to pull Fuegoleon, but to be honest, his kit isn't that good. It's okay, so it's an interesting batch. That's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back. I don't know when. I don't know when teasers for the next event are gonna start. I don't know what other videos I have planned, but I will be back soon, I am sure, and I will see you then.